There is other printing to be found in Stisted. It's done almost within touching distance of the Henshaws. So close, and yet the form and function of their work and this are worlds apart. There are similarities of method. There's ink involved and a press. But while there's duplication, it's a long way from mass production. And what Shelley Rose is about to print won't be stuck to a wall or a window, screaming for attention and thrown away in a matter of weeks. Shelley is assistant to one of our most distinguished printmakers, whose work is exhibited and sold the world over, Michael Rothenstein.
How long have you actually lived here?
11 years. 11 years. We're very lucky. It's within reach of London. We're in a beautiful village, and I have an excellent studio.
Certainly, yes. But although the studio, though it's, as it were, being customised by you, was in fact an old building of some kind before, wasn't it?
Yes, 3 old slaughterhouses.
Mm-hmm. What did you have to do to it in order to adapt?
And the walls are very much like this wall here, old random brick flint.
Right. We find ourselves seated, Michael, before what seems to be a current obsession of yours, butterflies and cockerels. This is the latest theme. What's the aim of the theme?
Well, I know where it started. The aim is to interest somebody somewhere. It started because I was brought up on a farm in the Cotswolds, and I was an extremely nervous child. I was always terrified of all these huge things, horses, bulls, cows. I was that high. I was prostrate with nerves. The one creature was always fighting I wasn't afraid of was the cockerel. And as any psychologist will tell you, the mastery of fear tends to imprint the imagination. And in fact, I've had an obsession about cockerels. I've drawn them, I've photographed them, painted them, printed them in 100 different forms.
To pursue, though, the psychological angle, what do you think you are trying to accomplish by constantly reverting to the cockerel theme?
Well, it's not my choice. It's something I'm guided to by some mysterious process that I don't understand. But on the whole, the cockerels are rather well liked, not only in England, but in many countries where I show abroad.
So there is a commercial element too?
Well, it's not in the forefront of my mind, but obviously, other things being equal, one would choose a butterfly rather than a skull. But other things have got to be equal, because the moment an artist loses the pursuit of a very strongly felt feeling or strongly realized image, he might as well be doing your job, Paul.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or as a kind of veiled insult.
I find big cities wildly exciting. I was brought up in a very remote village in the Cotswolds, and it was really years later I got to know a little bit great cities like New York or great cities like London. And so I'm really psychically split right down the middle between country and town.
Do you think then that, were it not for the relatively close proximity of London, Stisted would actually become unbearable?
It would be harder for me, a lot harder for me. No, I love them. I think the country is fabulous. But I need the buzz of a great city, and art comes out of great cities.
You are a lucky man. You have both.
I'm very lucky.
I'm deeply envious.
Right opposite the Only Arms is the site of another pub, the Old Duke's Head, pulled down long since. It's occupied now by the Institute, founded by the benevolent Mr. Montefiore, to improve the minds and the condition of the village's working people. They met here to talk and to play cards, and take a bath when necessary. And there was a lending library, which attracted borrowers from outlying cottages, even on the darkest of winter nights. Topped up by the county's mobile library, the lending service is still used, but the Institute's other functions have been overtaken by changing times. It remains, though, a monument to a good man, and reinforcing the impression of Stisted as a place where there's plenty going on. And as if there wasn't enough already, there's a newly formed community association to promote more.
Do you often happen upon strange men in shops who carry it for you?
Not in Stisted, no.
One of the prime movers of the association, and early on to the committee, was Sue Buffy, with a talent seemingly for persuading some people to do what she wants so that they discover it's what they wanted to do anyway.
You're, as I say, a bit of a comer in here, aren't you, insofar as you're not Stisted born and bred?
No.
Where did you come from?
From London, in fact. Well, I've been living in London recently, yes.
How long ago did you come here?
About 4 years ago, I think. It seems as if we've lived here for a lot longer, but I think it's about 4 years.
Word has it that you're a bit of a community live wire. How did you get
That's
involved?
a horrible expression. Hope I'm not. I think it was after about a year we were here. We went to the Jubilee celebrations, and it all started off from there. Everyone then wanted to start off a community association and said, you know, have that a meeting and invite all those people who are interested, and sort of half the village turned up. And then they asked for offers of help, you know, to go on the committee. And a few of us fools put our names down.
You actually volunteered, you weren't
Yes,
pressed?
yeah, no, not at all. I think there were more names than you know, we all had to be voted.
You say everyone gets involved. I mean, to use the old Victorian terms, does that mean all ages and classes?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Because you live in a village, which we're in a bit now, which is the old bit, but there's plenty of new housing just behind what's over the road there.
Yes, down south.
Do the long-established people get involved as much as the newcomers?
I think, yes, they're just spread. The new houses down there, they're very much, you know, together. They're all very close to one another. So obviously if something's going on, they can sort of pass it around easier than if the older people and some of the older cottages slightly out of the village. It's a bit difficult trying to get to them to tell them. But I think generally it must be about 50-50. But again, it depends on the sort of activity.
Judging by the rarity of houses for sale, the locals would be reluctant ever to leave the place, be they new arrivals with only a few years' residence to their credit, or old hands, perhaps native-born of long-established Stisted stock. One virtue of the place that everyone seems agreed on is the presence of the school, not least because, as in so many places, contact between neighbours, no matter what their status in the community, can be established and maintained through the children. In recent years, the balance of established families and newcomers has been more or less even. From now on, though, newcomers will be harder to find. Being a conservation area, the gangway is almost up. There is the odd bit of new building, the infilling of vacant sites or extensions to existing properties, but that's the limit. It was the enthusiasm of newcomers which got the horticultural show going again a few years ago, even though the natives said it would never work. They were almost right, but the 11th hour brought in 90 exhibitors, and a trophy last presented in the 30s found a new home. Since then, the show's become a fixture again, and each year's the same. The gardeners claim they'll have nothing ready for the day, but each year they do. Pétanque. The principle is the same as in bowls, to get as close as possible to the cochonnet, the equivalent of the jack, while at the same time trying to keep your opponent away from it. It's a French game, and it's catching on fast in this country. There are English teams now which can take on cross-channel challengers and beat them. The Stisted team is part of the Braintree League, and they take it seriously enough at the Only Arms to abdicate the car park to the game. If they're keen on pétanque in the village, they're almost fanatical about rounders. It's not the soft and sissy sort of game which people think it is, fit only for those frightened of a hard ball in cricket. So it's not just the ladies who play, though the WI are heavily into it. The men are involved just as much. The way it's organised here makes sense. They have teams of 9, and 4 of them must be women. They have incentives too, an annual knockout competition with a shield for the winning team, and medals for the players. The rounders, the horticultural show and much else are recent transfusions into the social bloodstream of the village by people new to the place. It's in the nature of things for there to be a rejection, at least in part. Did it happen?
There certainly was that feeling to begin with, because people are very proud and conscious of being their own little community, and the immediate reaction is, oh dear, we don't want foreigners in the village, but in fact it's turned out exactly the opposite. It's the best thing that's ever happened.
Well, I would say it's a very interesting and go-ahead village, and if they wanted to come and live here, they would be very welcome and would thoroughly enjoy it, I think. I mean, we like it ever so much. As I say, we've been here all our lives, and I've really no wish to move out of Stisted.
The beauty of Stisted is that it's unspoiled. It's still very much of a village. It's right off the beaten track. People only come to Stisted, they want to go to Stisted. They don't, it's not a through way. You know, you might be anywhere.
Everyone seems very friendly. Everybody wants to meet everybody else. It's very difficult to describe until you're here, and you don't really know what you're missing until you leave it. It's sort of a comradeship. I mean, I've lived here for 4 years, and I think I can honestly say that the people here I felt as if I've known all my life.